Hi, welcome to Essential Golf. I'm Erica Larkin, and I want to talk to you about decision making around the green. When to putt, when to chip, when to pitch. The typical rule of thumb that I tell my students is putt when you can, chip when you can't putt, and pitch only when you have to. So it's sort of a priority of how to decide what to do from where. If you're presented with a situation where you're just off the green like this in the light fringe in the fairway and you can putt it, I would absolutely recommend doing so. That's going to keep the ball on the ground the whole time, and it's going to help give you the best chance of being accurate as long as you're willing to practice this a little bit to get a feel for what it's like to hit a medium or a long putt, where it's going to be a little slower in the beginning and then gain speed as it gets onto the regularly mown green. So just to demonstrate what that would look like, we have a long putt here to that back pin. I'm going to take a longer putting stroke as if I was on the edge of the green, but then I'm going to give it just a little, maybe 10% more, and try to roll it all the way back to that back portion of the green. And as it spends a nice amount of time on the ground rolling, I can get fairly close to the pin without a whole lot of effort. So putt when you can, even if you're just off the green. And there's a point where it doesn't make sense to putt. So when would be a good opportunity to transition into chipping would be when you're a little further back and you have too much fairway to consider to hit too long of a putt, or something's in your way, like maybe the sprinkler cap is right on your line, maybe there's a big undulation that's hard to predict how you're going to roll the ball over it, or you're just off into the thicker grass but still near the green. It'd be a better opportunity to chip the ball. So go ahead and choose a lofted iron like a pitching wedge or a gap wedge and take a putting-like stroke so that you don't get too fancy. And from here, you can then chip the ball on the green with control and still a good amount of rollout. So that was a great shot from just off the green in a position where putting maybe didn't quite make sense. Chipping was my next best option. And finally, pitch only when you have to. If you're a little further back or in a position where you're in a thicker lie, or maybe you have some obstacle between you and where the beginning of the green is, you have to start adding some trajectory. So in this case, it's a good idea to play a club with some loft, start practicing with a bigger, more wristy swing, which is a little fancier, and you have to be understanding that this is a little bit of a harder shot to execute. So make sure your expectations are in check and make sure you've practiced this shot. If you're not confident, you have lots of other areas of the green to aim just to get on and in safety to give yourself a putt. But if you're going directly for the line of the pin over something like this, a sand trap, let's make sure we can execute a nice high soft shot and aim right for the flag. So with more loft and a little softer landing, that ball rolled only maybe a few yards after it took its first bounce. So for all three scenarios, they all fit different situations accordingly, but you want to try to decide on which shot to use where. So putt when you can, chip when you can't putt, and save the pitching and the lob shots and the flop shots for only when you really need them to get high soft shots over a hazard or onto the green with minimal roll. So I hope this provides you a good opportunity to learn and expand what you can do with your short game, improve your decision making around the greens, and leads to lower scores.